Thanks to recently uncovered emails, we are now learning how an NFL team helped the Catholic Archdiocese manage a sex abuse scandal from the years 2018 through 2019. Now, that team was the New Orleans Saints. And I think they're kind of in the news, right? Aren't they going to participate in a big event over the weekend? Waz, do you know anything about that?
The Super Bowl?
No, not that. We don't call it that. We call it the big game.
Oh, the big game, excuse me. Yeah, that's in New Orleans. I'm sure the owner of the Saints would be somehow involved. But yeah, the Bensons are notorious.
Wait, the Saints aren't.
No, the game
They're not
is just happening in New Orleans. Yeah. It's at a neutral site every single year, Anna. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, let's move on. So this story is about how the New Orleans Saints basically helped the Catholic Archdiocese cover up a sex abuse scandal. So two people within the organization had connections to the church. Those two people are Gail Benson, the owner of the Saints, and Greg Bensel, the head of communications. So Bensel also serves in the same position on the New Orleans Pelicans, which is an NBA team. That's basketball. So going forward, we will be referring to those individuals by their first name since their last names are so similar. So Gail is a close friend of Archbishop Gregory Amond. He has served as the Archbishop of New Orleans since 2009. And we should also note that his archdiocese has recently faced federal and state investigations to uncover whether it spent decades operating a child sex trafficking ring. Like, this is an insane story. So Gail has contributed more than $80 million to the archdiocese and other Catholic causes since 2007 through the foundation she and her husband started. Gail and Amond have stood on Mardi Gras floats together. Amond is even a witness on the will of Gail's late husband. So they're like super connected. The Saints connected with Amond back in July of 2018. That month, it was revealed that a former deacon who was removed from the ministry in 1988 due to years of sexual abuse allegations was serving as a lector in a local church. He had even been arrested multiple times for child molestation charges. Amond claimed that he was not aware at all that the deacon was serving in this role, but turns out it was later found that the deacon had been cleared to meet with and present lessons to school children at the church. So Greg emailed Gail to offer his help to Amond, writing the following: I like Sarah, his PR person, a lot, but if he ever wants to chat crisis communications with him and Sarah, we have been through enough at Saints to be a help or sounding board, but I don't want to overstep. Gail ended up thanking Greg and stated that she would communicate the offer to Amond. Those were the first of over 300 email correspondences that were sent over the course of a year, in which the Saints and the Archdiocese worked together hand in hand to contain the fallout of the sex abuse scandals. Okay, so how exactly did the Saints specifically assist the Archdiocese? So there was potential tampering with a list of accused clergy. That seems pretty serious. Most damning incidents involved this list of 57 clergy members who were credibly accused of sexual assault. The list was compiled and later released to the public by the Archdiocese of New Orleans. Church leaders stated that the list was an effort to be transparent about the victims, with the victims. But hours before that list was made public, Greg actually sent an unusual email to Dennis Lauscha, who's a team president of the Saints. And it had to do with Leon Canizaro, who was the then district attorney of New Orleans. So let's take a look at what Greg wrote. He wrote, had a CC with Leon Canizaro last night that allowed us to take certain people off the list. It's kind of amazing, Waz, that they're putting all this stuff in writing. And I'm glad that it all got revealed. And I'm glad they're stupid enough to put it in writing. But like, what are you doing? Why? Why would you feel compelled to help cover up something as disgusting as sexual abuse? But that appears to be the case here. There's more, but I want to hear what you think.
I mean, I think what folks need to generally understand about an entity like the Saints, the New Orleans Saints, you might look at an NFL football team, like you go to a game and you're like, wow, this is some big corporate operation. And so you think of it as like your normal run of the mill corporation, like Pepsi, before their CEOs or their PR department or their, like Pepsi, for instance, that would run through like 70 different lawyers and the board would have to approve and blah, like that's how corporations run. They're big old bureaucracies. That's not how sports teams run. They are theocracies. They are dictatorships. They are, they rule by fiat. Like if Gail Benson decides, anything that's under her power and jurisdiction as far as the apparatus of the New Orleans Saints, including and up to their PR arm, and she wants to use it for other reasons because her buddies in the local Catholic Church need help. She just does it. There is nobody to answer to. She owns her team outright. Nobody can tell her to say no, to say no to these folks. And that's why this can happen. They just see their cronies and their homies in some trouble. And it's like, no, I'm gonna step up to the plate. And there are no checks and balances in that system.
That's a really good point. And it sucks because, look, I wanna be clear, the players have nothing to do with this, right? Nothing to do with it. But this is the kind of garbage and the kind of scandal that is caused by the people up top. And it makes the entire team look bad. And it's unfair to the players. It's unfair to everyone else that's involved with the Saints that had nothing to do with this. So let's get to some more information, more of what we've learned as a result of this investigation. So both the Archdiocese of New Orleans and the Saints themselves claimed that no one in the Saints organization had anything to do with the creation of the list. Now, Canizario claims that he only saw the list when it was made public, but obviously the email that we were talking about raises questions because he's the one, that was CC'd last night that allowed us to take certain people off the list, certain victims off the list. So that's not looking good. And the Archdiocese confirmed that Greg received the list just prior to its public release. So fascinating. Now, let's talk about the contacts with local media. Greg also contacted local media to ask them to cover Amond favorably. And here's what he sent to 2 local newspapers. So we have the right man at the right time, right now, and I'm asking that you, as the most influential newspaper in our state, please get behind him and work with Amond. Casting a critical eye on him is neither beneficial nor right. So this was a email that was sent by Greg Bensel over to the Advocate and also to the Times-Picayune. While I am not employed by the Archdiocese, I feel strongly from my seat at the communications as the communications person representing the Saints/Pelicans, this is a critical moment in time for our city and church leadership. We need your support moving forward. Now, one of those newspapers, the Advocate, then set up a meeting between the paper and Amond. In the lead up to that meeting, Greg wrote talking points, specific talking points that Amond could use in the meeting. And there's just a few more details. Bensel did plenty of other work for the church, mostly, rewarding mostly regarding that list that we were talking about, the list of victims or credibly accused clergy members that we had mentioned earlier. He had given a host for the Saints radio station a list of questions to ask Amond for an interview on the day of the list release. By the way, let me just say, if these news organizations, if this radio show is presenting itself as like, we're doing news, and they're literally taking questions, someone else is dictating the questions that they ask, that's deeply, deeply unethical. So it takes 2 to tango. Obviously, from what we're learning about the people associated with the Saints, not good. But if media figures and media platforms are going along with this, that's also a problem. Bensel also accompanied Aymond while he did the media rounds on the day of the list release. And finally, Bensel even revised the letter that Aymond sent his parishioners regarding that list of victims. So not looking good for the members involved who are associated with the Saints. But it is amazing to me that at that late date, 2018 to 2019, after all the scandal involving the Catholic Church, they just keep doing it. There's still efforts to cover up sexual abuse. It's insane, absolutely insane. Anyway, any final words on this, Waz?
Yeah, just in case folks at home are wondering how, why, if the NFL or even the NBA, because the Bensons do own an NBA franchise as well, would step up and punish these guys, maybe perhaps even take a team away from them and all of this stuff. Here's why that's very unlikely. The league is governed by what is called the Board of Governors, which comprises of all other owners. So why would they ever vote to come down hard on one of their fellow owners when one day the shoes can be reversed? And they're like, shoot, somebody might try to come take my team away from you or levy some insane fine against me. And so the incentives for the leagues just don't align, because again, like every single owner is his or her own dictator in their organization. And to take that power away would be to take their own power away. And so like, it's very unlikely that we'll see any actual stern action come from their peers in these sports leagues, because why would they do that to one of their own?
But I think a story like this could lead to backlash from fans, right? Sure. Yeah.
Fans, doubtful, especially when it comes to football. It's just doubtful. Fans just want their football. They don't give a damn what's happening on an ancillary or peripheral sort of level. They just want their football on Sundays. They don't care about anything else. That's the one thing I've learned throughout the years, and in my capacity as somebody who works in sports media. Football is impenetrable. It's just going to continue to perpetuate itself. The fans do not care.
Even when, the whole franchise has become so woke, as conservatives would like you to believe.
No, I mean the NFL woke, and that's the thing. And that's the funny thing about the NFL too. It's like they adopted some of that stuff just to be like, all right, we're doing our part in it, but they certainly didn't have to. I think it was a bone they threw to their players who are, the league is about 63 to 65% black, and so it's like, it's like a little bone they threw to the workforce to be like, look, man, we'd rather have these guys not be completely discontented with us. Let's throw a bone at them. But in terms of public pressure, there is no public pressure. It doesn't exist for the NFL.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.